So welcome. Just by way of introduction, if I haven't met you tonight, my name is Pat Mullen. I head up our strategic planning group at Purina, and we're all based out of St. Louis. Uh, Made the trip out to enjoy the nice summer weather here. So, um, yes, I know we didn't plan the timing all that well. But just on behalf of the entire Purina team, and we've got a number of our folks out here tonight. Hopefully, you've met a few of them, as well as our great partners at Active Capital. I just wanted to welcome you and just say thanks more than anything. I mean, there's a lot of places you could have gone after work tonight on a Monday, and we just appreciate that you chose to spend it with us here. And just a little bit of background as to why we're here tonight. If I go back, it's been 10 years now. Purina, which is historically, had its roots in the pet food business. I think we made kind of a strategic decision that hey, we need to, try and have more outreach and connection with the pet care startup community. I mean, it's a vibrant community, encompasses a lot of things outside of pet food, and so. One of the ways that we did that was through our PetCare Innovation Prize, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. We've got a couple former winners here, but basically a competition that we host every year for startups and founders submit applications for an opportunity to win $25,000, non-dilutive, for 5 winners, and also a further opportunity at a pitch competition for a grand prize winner to win an additional $25,000. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight, but this is also just an opportunity for you all to be able to network with one another and maybe learn a little bit more about the prize here. So I'm really excited to have 3 of our folks here tonight that we become close to over the years here. So we've got Scott Eller from Artie, local. Yes. And so they actually, have your booth over there, right?
We do.
Yes. And so Scott, you guys were winners of the PetCare Innovation Prize in 24? 23. All right, 2023. So Colleen Wilson, so Pets on Cue. And so, Colleen, you've been involved with the network for, 3-4 years now? Yeah.
Coming up on like 5 years.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Pet Care Innovation Network as well, which is a little bit different from the prize, but Colleen's been one of our strongest advocates in there. And yes, also one of the driving forces behind the Female Founders Group as well. I'll let you plug that tonight also. So. And then Matt Krentz from Bestie B&B. So Matt's with us from Kansas City tonight, and you guys were 2024 winners, if I were. Yes. So we'll talk a little bit about, their just experience in the startup world, talk a little bit about the prize, but we also want to give you guys opportunity if there are questions at the end here. So with that, let's get rolling. So let's just open up a little bit of background. So if you could talk a little bit about yourself and your background, and then your business.
Sure. So my name is Scott Eller. I'm with Artie. I am here, local in the Valley, so feel free to stop by after and say hi. I've met several other entrepreneurs already, and I was really excited to see that the folks were coming here. I did give them the advice to wait another 3-4 weeks.
He did.
They're here when they're here, so it's we're all used to it, but they're sweating a little bit. I think they might have got a little pool time earlier. I heard from a little bird, but so my name's Scott. I'm one of the co-founders of Artie. We are the first kitchen appliance system that makes warm, gently cooked meals for pets at the touch of a button. So essentially, shorthand is it is an espresso machine for pet food. Touch of a button, freeze-dried, dehydrated food, gently steamed, cooked, hydrated, ready to serve warm to your dog in about 3 minutes. So that's what we created. My background was in the pet industry and in consumer products for 20 or so years before that. I was actually moved out here by a company that I might not be able to name in certain, it's not Purina.
That's fine.
But I spent some time with Blue Buffalo Pet Food and a handful of other large companies in the industry before I figured out how to escape the matrix and start my own company, which was fun. And now we did win the prize a few years ago. I will only say that I very reluctantly went into even putting our toe back into the water of the prize because we had worked really hard to escape corporate America, and couldn't be happier with the relationship with these guys. And they're not paying me to say that. They're good folks, and it's been a great experience winning the prize and just the support from Purina and especially from the Purina network. For people like this has been amazing experience just to be a part of that group and that network. So
My dog eats his food, like he's in
and her son models for our social media as
a-
well. So
it's
it's
a, like,
it's a big happy family for
full
sure.
circle.
Great, Colleen.
Yeah, I'm also a local. I'm from here. My name is Colleen Wilson. I'm the founder of Pets on Cue. We are an animal talent agency, so we work with animal actors, influencers, content creators, work with agency, media, pet space. We kind of combine those two, trying to make the industry better for the animals, send animals that are trained and want to actually work, just overall making that industry better. My company was based out of LA, but I got smart and moved out here. Yeah, my background is in banking. Fun. I was a private banker in Manhattan before doing this because, natural transition was to get into the pet space. And then once you're in the pet space, it's the best industry in the world. And I will say, like, this group, we're here to kind of talk about you guys, but it's a great group. I've been in other groups, and it's just a really supportive, awesome group. So I met a few other female founders, and we said, hey, there's not that much support in the female world, so we also made female founders in pet. Also very supported by PCIN and Purina. I am not a winner yet. I will be someday. But
You're
yeah,
a winner,
I'm a
Colleen.
winner
You're a
in
winner.
your heart. But I know the group is really awesome. It's a great place to network and meet amazing people in the industry like these guys and other people that are here. So I definitely encourage everyone to join the network and apply to get the prize as well. And yeah, I'm also a executive producer. We have a TV show on Netflix called Pet Stars, so you can watch that and learn a little bit more about us.
Definitely go and check out Colleen's website. I just love seeing the videos and all the pets. It's phenomenal. And every month I look at it, it's improved and looks better and better. Awesome to be here. Thank you. Thank you for the hospitality and the invitation. Matt Krentz, one of the co-founders of Bestie B&B. We're based out of Kansas City, Missouri. And in 2019, my business partner and I, we were listening to our local NPR affiliate, and being interviewed was the director of grants and housing at the largest domestic violence agency on the Kansas side. And during the course of that interview, she was sharing some of the biggest barriers that their organization faced. And it's when she shared that 50% of people on a 24-hour abuse hotline, when they find out they are unable to bring their pet to shelter, they decline to go in and get help. And so that kind of stopped us in our tracks. At that time, there was probably less than 5% of domestic violence agencies in the country that could house companion animals. Purple Leash Project with Purina has done some amazing work to increase those numbers, but there's a lot of barriers for social service agencies to be able to create crisis care safety net programs or have shelters on site to house pets. So that was the start of a long journey that that led to the creation of Bestie B&B. We contacted the folks being interviewed. I have very close family and friends who, outside of St. Louis and Chicago, who've been supporting, whether it's donors, volunteers, or working kind of in the trenches at domestic violence agencies for years. And so I contacted them, and they said this is a very big issue. So if there's something you can do about it, approaching it with technology, that'd be tremendous. And so after we presented our idea to the folks that originally gave the interview, we heard, they said, if you can do this, you'll save lives. And so we spent a year traveling across the country, meeting with experts in social service agencies, animal welfare. We went on to learn that these barriers exist for all type of social service agencies, whether it's a behavioral mental health crisis, substance use treatment, housing crises. So during that time, we developed Bestie B&B, which our agency partners now describe as a HIPAA-compliant Airbnb for pets, run by the social service agencies and the animal shelters with a confidential foster network that can take care of any of those organizations in a community. So since launching in 2023, we're now in 19 states, helping 55 nonprofits, and we've started to expand to helping with primary care. We're helping cancer patients, veterans, So anyone in a situation where they just need temporary help till they can be reunited with their pets. And what's really exciting about coming to Arizona is, one, the friends that I've made over the years through the Pet Care Network. Our wonderful friends at Bundle and Joy, who's supported our mission from day one. They've supported one of our family justice centers in San Diego. They've provided Safe Nights grants. And then, Leanna Taylor, CEO of Arizona Pet Project, who is just being announced soon, but our official nonprofit partner, so we can create 750 of these crisis care safety net programs across the country over the next 4 years. And Arizona is really leading the way in the intersection of animal wellness and human social services, and our technical platform will help scale that. So it's been exciting. My background was in film and technology. I used to work for Robert Redford's Sundance organization, did independent films and comic books and graphic novels, and never thought I'd be in the pet space until I heard that interview. But I had spent 6.5 years with my business partner building enterprise level software for NBC Universal, HBO, Netflix, and just said, this pet space sounds like a lot more fun with a lot cooler people. When you're talking about difficult situations, approaching a story through the lens of a pet allows you to have more difficult conversations of what's really going on in society. And that's something I've learned with my kids when we talk about dogs we're fostering because someone's going through a crisis situation. The Pet Care Innovation Network, I was fortunate to find out about, I think, Dustin at Active Capital. We had a mutual friend, a friend of mine from high school that he went to college with. And so I reached out and I was like, I do not know anyone in the pet care industry. Like, after we heard about this, building software for social service agencies isn't a pet care industry problem, but we knew we wanted to get the support of potential corporate sponsors to raise more awareness for this, to go through non-traditional channels to have that conversation. So we applied, I think, in 2022 when we were still in beta. Were not accepted, which made sense because we still had some kinks to work out. And I think that the one thing I'd say to anyone in the room is, like, you're going to hear no a lot, so just get used to it, but it's not a hard no. If you hear it no 10 times, maybe that person's not interested. I think the sweet spot's between 5 and 7, but we reapplied in 2023, and then we were one of the winners in 24, and it's just opened up a lot of doors with other entrepreneurs, who are kind of living and breathing that kind of hustle.
That's great. Well, what I'm taking away between Colleen and your story is that the pet care world has a way of pulling you into its orbit and not letting you go, right? So I guess it's probably a good time to kind of clarify. When we talk, we use some acronyms around here, and forgive me for that. PCIP, Pet Care Innovation Prize, which guys we're talking about here. That's the annual event. One of the benefits of being a prize winner is that you get admission into the Pet Care Innovation Network. So we've been doing this for 10 years. We have 5 winners per year, so you can just do the math, and we have about 50 companies, that are part of our network now, and it just allows them to be able to, we host different events throughout the year, and I think really probably the value, and I'll ask you about this a little bit later, but when we were talking at a similar event a couple weeks in New York, is just founders being able to talk to one another, because it's a unique position that y'all are in, and so it helps to be able to talk to somebody who's maybe gone through similar ups and downs and so forth, and lean on each other. So we found that to be really, really cool. And along those lines, you talk about you'll get used to hearing no a lot. Everybody out here is, a founder at a different stage in their journey. You guys have all found some traction, which is awesome. But any stories or thoughts around either highs or lows that you guys have dealt with, along this journey? Any advice that you could give?
I feel like there's loads of advice we can give you. I would say joining a network like this is a really good place to learn from other people that are in the industry that can give you tips and introductions to people. Like I've been in it for 10 years now, and just meeting, Becky from Dog TV and, Isabel from Pup Festival, like those are great resources that are local here in Phoenix, just those two right there. For you to be in these networks and meet people and do that, I think that that's the biggest advice I can give you. I mean, you're as big as the connections that you have and as a company. And I just say, don't take no for an answer. Like, I have never won the prize, and I'm in the network because I weaseled my way in. I forced them to accept me. And, that's I guess, my short advice.
You are the exception.
I'm the exception, sorry.
You didn't take no for an answer,
I did
right?
not. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, I guess just to add to that, I mean, look, the founder's journey, some of you have been riding it for a while. Some of you are just getting started. Highs and lows is the name of the game. That's what you're facing. Impossible odds every day. For me, I can only speak to really my journey, but for my journey, I found a business partner that had very complementary skill sets to mine. I've always been a sales and marketing guy, and that's branding, sales, marketing, that world. My business partner is very much an engineer, operations guy who filled in the pieces that I couldn't in terms of product development. I spent my career learning how to develop products from the consumer side. He spent time figuring out how to build those products that were going to work for the consumer and make them actually function from factories that were going to be quality factories that were going to stand behind their product, all these things. So, that was particular to my journey. I think Matt's probably got a little bit of a similar story with your business partner there and leaning on each other. But for me, in the journey, that was key, because not only skill sets offset for myself and my co-founder, but personalities, times whenever I think the world is coming to an end, he's like, we got this, we'll figure it out, and vice versa. I've got, dozens of stories where, one of us is having the worst day ever, and the other one grabs us and pulls us up and keep going. And because the one thing I promise you is that it gets hard. There's no question it gets hard at some point, and you just got to kind of push through and find your inner strength somewhere or another, and just go and fight another battle. So, that's the way my journey's been anyway.
Yep, that's great. Matt?
Yeah, I would, if you have a co-founder, it's amazing just to bounce the ideas off each other. And if you don't, there's networks like this. That's why you come to events like this. Find like-minded individuals and, kind of share that journey together. Even if you're not officially partners, you can still support one another. There's just, there's always those adrenaline rushes. And if it's fundraising, just don't give up your day job while you're getting started.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a long road, but if it's something you believe in and you just know it's going to work, by the time I got to Bestie B&B, I had, been pitching movies and graphic novels and hearing, you have to do this, you have to do that. It needs to be, more violence. It needs to be less violence. It, needs to be, more diverse, less. Everyone had an opinion on how something should be. And then finally, like in the independent film world, you're like, you do have the option to just go make it yourself and do it. And that's what I did on some projects. And that's, making an independent film is the same as a startup. I mean, you are running a small business, and you're gonna, on a lucky day, you're only putting out 3 fires a day. On a bad day, you're putting out 10 to 12 fires a day. And it's that journey there, but you do it with a team. So if you're doing it solo, like, I applaud you, but try to build a team around you, whether it's advisors or co-founders or just friends who can support you. And it might just be your German Shepherd, for example, that consoles you. It's just have some support in place.
Yeah, just tagging on to what Matt said, I think having a co-founder or not, one of the best pieces of advice I can give out there is make sure you know what it is that you don't know, and then go and find that. Find the complement to that, because all of us are good at something. None of us are good at everything. So you got to understand what your strengths are, definitely understand what your weaknesses are, and then go find a way to supplement that, whether that's a co-founder, whether that's a network person, wherever it is, but know what it is that you don't know and go and seek that out.
Yeah, I think the other thing is if you're going for a raise and you're going to, get investment also with the networking, and I found my investor through this network, which was really great. Just make sure that you're picking the right people to partner with. Like if you're doing this, that's like the most important decision that you're making. And you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. So don't just take the money and go. But, just make sure that you're picking the right people when you're investing. I think that's a important thing in a business.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit left field a little left field from what we were talking about, but felt like that was important.
Very relevant. Yeah.
Very relevant.
Yeah.
So, saw all of you guys out at Super Zoo in Vegas last month. So, anything that caught your eye? Anything that, as you're out there, there's a lot to take in, right?
Yeah.
But just anything that you were seeing that might be interesting for the folks out here.
Like different trends that were
Yeah.
happening. So I have a very different experience from these guys because I have more of a service based. So I didn't have a booth. Did you have a booth? No. Okay, just kidding. I didn't have a booth, and I basically run around and do these panels and speeches and speak to some of the people that are running the event and learning kind of overall what's happening in the industry. It's terrible right now. Like everyone is struggling. So like you'll get there. We're at this point right now that when the market comes back, like a lot of people are struggling. So just know that. That's one really big takeaway that I got. There's a lot of really cool new products that are coming out, and you just kind of got to get there. If you're going to Super Zoo, do the emerging brands for sure. Like, has everyone been, or there people that haven't been to Super Zoo yet? Like, raise your hand if you haven't been. Super Zoo is the largest pet convention. There's over 30,000 people that were there this
Yep.
year. Yeah, and there's a lot of things happening right now in the pet industry that are really big. So definitely get into emerging brands if you can. I think that's the biggest tip.
It's
I
in
can give
Vegas,
you.
so it's not a
in
long
Vegas,
trip from
yeah.
here. So.
Yeah, I just drove. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Great. Sorry.
And there is the emerging brand space they put up. We were still in that this year, where it's like smaller kiosks, basically, that are a lot more affordable for startups. I know we had a few other folks that were that showed up there with some booths in those spaces, and it's a great way to get introduced and get some good feedback on your product, maybe find customers, and just get introduced into the larger world.
Yeah, and loads of retailers are there. So there's a few small brands I knew that they got picked up by Chewy and PetSmart when they were there. So it's a great opportunity if you have a small brand to get large exposure. And that happens, a year from now. You got to wait a year. There's also Global Pet Expo. You can do it there as well. That's also a really great place. Or get on Dog TV with Becky.
Matt, anything that caught your eye?
Our experience going to Global and Super Zoo is to talk to founders who have cool products, and our approach is a little different since we're not in the retail kind of CPG space. So it's kind of nice because we could just go and mingle and talk with people and look for potential partners like Jess. That's how we met at an event. Originally we had been communicating via email and got in touch on LinkedIn, but met in person at one of the big pet retail events. Our events are when we go to like Humane World for Animals, Animal Care Expo, and we'll have a booth and then sit on panels just talking about animal wellness specifically and rescues and shelters, and it's an amazing environment for us to be in. So I'm not the best to really comment on the trends at Super Zoo.
Okay, so I can comment a little bit since you guys are both service folks, and we were the ones sort of representing the product world from that standpoint. But look, I will tell you that any of these shows, you should look at it and be both encouraged, but know it's also going to be a bit of a challenge in that the cool thing about these shows is that. Sorry, Purina, but 98% of the innovation comes from people that are sitting just in this room, from folks like Jen and her company, founders that come and go and build something that, frankly, the big guys are so focused on making sure the mothership flies the right direction that they don't often take the risks that we can as smaller sort of entrepreneurs and product folks. So what you'll find at a lot of these shows is that the innovation is coming from these kind of folks, just like yourself, and people that are willing to take the risk, willing to put themselves out there, willing to do something innovative and push the industry forward, whether it's a product in a new space or new technology or converging technologies. Those are the companies that are shaping the industry every year. Now, the downside is a lot of them don't make it back 2-3 years later. So it is what it is, right? That we all know we're in a founder's journey here, and that's a part of it. A lot of them will come and innovate. A few will be around in 2, 3, 4 years, and that's just the way this industry especially works. I can't comment on too many others, but that's also what makes it exciting, because the big guys can't take the risks that we can, and these are the folks that kind of push the industry forward. And frankly, why I think this entire PCIP and PCIN exists in the first place, right? Is to meet folks like you all in this room that are out there taking those kind of risks. So that's really exciting. But you also, over the years, when you've been in the industry as long as I have, which is 20 odd years or whatever, you also know that there's going to be a lot of those companies. A few will make it, and there's others that unfortunately won't. But that's the odds that we're all facing, and you should know that going in.
And you all get into the industry for the same reason. You love your animal. You want to make the industry better for the animal. Like that, it's like we do it because we love the animal, so everyone instantly has something in common. And 99% of the people in the pet industry are friendly. They're nice.
Yes.
It's very different from most of the other industries out there. So
And
that's what you
willing
find
to
is
help
super
each other out. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the founders that I've met around are very just willing to
Yeah.
jump in. And I introduced a fellow founder from this network to a large strategic last week because she asked me to at the show, and I've been in the industry for a long time. So it's just helping each other out where you can, and they're just, you just meet good people and you try and help each other out. And
Yeah.
that's an amazing part of this industry and kind of the network.
in the network, yeah.
So I don't take offense at your comment.
I think the first time I heard that comment, it came from one of your guys, actually.
It's Scott's last time on this panel. Just
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And we have a lot of folks that go out to Super Zoo, and certainly that doesn't mean that we don't put an emphasis on innovation, but we also, I would like to think, are smart enough to know that we don't have the market cornered on all the good ideas out there. And so going out and going into the new product space and all that is a great way for us to keep our finger on the pulse of what's popping out there, and not just in our area that's kind of our sweet spot of food, treats, and litter, but the broader pet care ecosystem. So, I mean, I think you can even see from the folks that we have up here that we go way beyond, and we start talking about the prize and what we look at beyond just kind of what's core to Purina. So, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think one of the things I was encouraged by when I was out there, and we talked to the WPA people, is that they said that it was the biggest trade show that they'd ever had. And so when we kind of think about how things went off the rails with COVID, and I mean, it really put a halt, obviously, to people getting together. They've seen increased numbers in terms of the number of booths and the number of attendees at Super Zoo, and that's Global Pet too, over the last 5 years. And so to me, that's just encouraging because it's telling me it's a vibrant space. It's very dynamic. And yes, there are people that come and go there, but there's a lot of energy there and a lot of things to like about the pet care space. So
you
I'm
can
probably
see
preaching
it.
to the choir here tonight. So.
Yeah, it was very well attended. I mean,
and they cut like 75% of media that would go. So they cut, which in a good thing, like they made kind of a very strategic decision, and I think it played off for them. And that, yeah, like with that, it was still larger than before. So
Yeah,
I thought
it's
it was-
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and I guess the first one might be more for Scott and Matt here, because I want to talk specifically about boot camp. So, we talked a little bit about hopefully one of the benefits of winning the prize is you come back to Purina for a week in February, early February, and get an opportunity to network with some of the folks that we have in St. Louis. And so we talk about consumer trends, retail trends, channel strategy. We make some introductions with folks within Purina where there could be potential partnership opportunities. We have a pitch coach that comes and works with our prize winners to help them to continue to refine their value proposition. And so I just wanted to kind of hear from you guys who have experienced it, like what were the things that kind of stood out? I mean, I love hearing this because we're always operating in this mindset of continuous improvement. So what stood out to you?
Yeah, for sure. The pitch coaching helped tremendously. I mean, we would share our story and tell it, but it was nice to have someone kind of lock it down and say, all right, you need to get your elevator pitch together. You need to be able to, very quickly and concisely explain to, anyone in the room, if you have a short period of time, what you're doing, but also when it came to the actual presentation itself, it was just a good exercise. I mean, you think, you know your product so well and you know your story, but it's oftentimes very important to have an outside expert kind of weigh in, whether that's for pitches or whether it's for analysis of your model or how you're trying to scale. So the pitch aspect was great, and Ed was great. So it was just a fun
And that's an
exercise.
outside external consultant that we bring in. That's not a
Oh
Purina
yeah,
person. So,
and
yeah.
and that was wonderful. But also, it's important. So for our organization, trying to get a large, whether it's a corporate sponsor or partner or someone to help share our mission, it's important to understand, their culture and why they operate the way they do. So there's all these assumptions you might have as a founder, but whatever you're building, like the best thing to do is just sit shotgun with the audience that you're building it for. Boot camp gave us the opportunity to hear from individuals within the Purina ecosystem, and whether it's sales, whether it's in PR, we sat down with the Pet Finder team, and it was important to hear what their challenges were, what they're looking for, because strategically, if you understand where you might be able to be an asset or assist in some way, you can guess all day long. So it was nice to have time to sit down, whether it was over lunch or in a dedicated session, to just understand the culture there. I was super impressed, just walking through campus and meeting with people who weren't even part of the boot camp, because there was a little bit of overlap with some other sessions. Like, everyone was just super friendly. It was just the pet space in general. I was like, holy cow, people enjoy coming to work, and they genuinely wanted to help us. We realized early on, don't think you're going to have a product and Purina is just going to say, I'm going to invest in it or I'm going to buy it. Like, the reality is the value in the network, and being part of boot camp is the relationships. You can take the feedback, if you listen, you're better off for it. So I think the value is in the opportunity, the room it puts you in, the events that we go to in Vegas for the dinner. I think before I became a part of the network, I went to an event like this in Chicago that you guys hosted. I went to one in Austin, which was great. And that was before I had even applied, but I met a bunch of other founders, made relationships with VCs in Austin that were focused on consumer packaged goods, which couldn't help me, but I introduced them to other entrepreneurs in the network. And then as a return, they had philanthropic friends that they're like, well, I want you to meet so-and-so. You just build a network of trying to help each other. And it's like, the more you do to help other people, like it'll naturally just come back to help whatever your mission is. So.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll just try to add a little bit to that, but my world was, my world view, I guess, coming in was maybe slightly different in that I had just left 20 years in the corporate space, and much of that in pet food and other things. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was sort of a little bit hesitant to go and, okay, here comes boot camp, and I'm kind of like, okay, all right, I got to check this box and go into it. But I kind of laugh at myself with that sort of mentality looking back, because I have to say, the folks at Purina and this is almost universal to everyone I've met throughout the organization, is just very welcoming, very open, very willing to talk and help. I mean, no, they're not giving me the secret recipe code to the kingdom or whatever, but outside of that, they're very willing to help, very willing to jump in and just add to the thinking and challenge and have ideas. The coaching was great. Is it always Reggie? Is he the same guy every year, or does it rotate? Yes. Okay. So the guy that does this sort of the pitch coaching is phenomenal. Just to sort of help you hone in on the message, and you work through that week. You get a ton of feedback from a lot of folks throughout the organization, and then you get your 7-minute pitch at the end in the corporate amphitheater, conference room. I don't know. It looks like a college lecture class, basically, and then they're broadcasting, at least when we did it, to much of the company, and it is a great experience because it gives you an opportunity. It pulls you out of your day to day, puts you in a focused environment full of other really creative, bright people who are all on a similar mission to you, which is just grind this thing out and find your path forward from a startup standpoint. And you're in this group of fun, creative people that just are on that journey. And then they bring in a lot of other smart people from their organization to sort of help you along your way. So very, very worthwhile from that experience. And it was worth time well spent.
That's great. I mean, it works both ways. I mean, there are a lot of people that attend these pitches because, when you work for a big company for a long time, it's fun to come listen to you guys and the energy that you bring. So yeah, value works both ways. So are we?
We have some time for.
You want me to open it up for a little Q&A here? So first off, thank you guys. Really appreciate you bringing your insight and just being here tonight.
Thank you.
And just want to open it up. If anybody's got any questions that were sparked from the answers from these guys tonight, would love to hear from you.
Don't be shy.
I think any advice on finding a compatible business partner, potential co-founder, or exploring that space when you're sort of new and networking, trying to gauge different things. How do you, meet the types of people that would be interested in joining your venture, but also vetting?
Brian couldn't hear that. Did you repeat it?
She was asking how you
deal with competition?
how you decide to
in
bring
this
on a
industry?
co-founder and what you do partnership. So I don't have a co-founder. I self-founded it, but I kind of took the same mentality of what these guys said, where I hired people that are smarter than me at different things that I'm weaker at. And I think bringing on the specific partners, you need a media partner, you bring someone in and you partner with them as opposed to maybe hiring someone full time. I feel like there's some strategy of what you can do and how you can hire people. There's, interns as an option. But you always need a number two that's smarter than you. Like I'm more like Scott in the sales side. So my number two is much better at operations and hiring people than I am because I'm just like, yeah, join the team. This is great.
Find someone with an enormous checking account.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the best advice I can
Yes.
give you. Enormous checking account.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, the only other thing I would say is that I hit on it earlier is that the most important thing I think you can do, and you're alluding to it as well, is just ask yourself, what am I really good at, and where are my blind spots? What are the things that I'm not great at, or don't want to do, or can't do as well as someone else might? And then put yourself in a position to meet those kind of people. I mean, if you're great at the sales and marketing side and you need a factory person or an operational person or something along those lines, join some of those networks or try to find folks that get into that space. I don't know the specifics of what you might need, but I think the first thing is identifying what those things are and then going and seeking out opportunities. And frankly, just networking at places like this exact thing where you can go, you know what I really need is someone who's good at this. And it's amazing my experience, my journey with how open and willing to help most other founders are, because they've had the same struggle, and just connecting the dots for someone else is fun, and a part of why I think all of us are in this is just to sort of have that experience and that journey. So you'll find help if you go and look for it, I guess, depending on what your need is.
Any other questions? Yeah. You can go.
How do you deal with competition in this industry?
That's not my question.
Yeah, you don't have as much competition.
I don't have competition. I destroyed them. I'm just kidding. No, I
Right.
didn't.
She
No, I
eats them
have
for
a different
breakfast.
niche that people didn't want to touch. So.
Well, look, I will say this. This is a very diverse space, the pet industry. There are many, many paths. And again, I think you just have to find your own. I will tell you that I spent a lot of time with some large companies, making everything from hard goods and various different consumable products in the pet industry to making kibble pet food with a company. What I knew is that for our path, we were going to go into the food space. And I knew for certain we were not going to fight it out in the bloodbath that is the kibble dog food arena. And we didn't have deep enough pockets for that. I didn't have the stomach to go and compete head on with the Purinas of the world or Mars or any of these other guys. So, in the meantime, we had a dog that was struggling with nutrition and struggling with issues that, we were cooking for at home. And we had 3 small kids at the time. And cooking for our dog was just a hassle. And so, we looked at our skill sets, and my business partner and I were already working together. We started our first company about 10 years ago, and we're working together. And we looked at this and went, hey, we think we can do something here. And oh, by the way, there's nothing like this in the space. And that's the key. You got to find your own unique path, because again, I feel like I'm the black cloud here a little bit, because I always bring in a little bit of cautionary, but you have to face that, is that, there are a million Me Too's in this industry. And if you just bring another Me Too without some level of unique positioning, it's not probably going to be sustainable. So find that unique path, and then you don't really have competition, at least not directly.
To get rid of this negative Nancy here, I would say diversify your branding, focus on yourself. I mean, look at what Jess has done with Bundle and Joy. She's a kibble, and she's kicking ass. I'm not supposed to swear. Yeah.
She's kicking ass. She's
her
really kicking
branding
ass.
is unique. The team's social is amazing. I am a fan, and I follow them, and I'm laughing all the time. And she's a fan too, right? So I think diversifying your branding and just stick to yourself, and then your competitors. My competitors aren't in the industry anymore. They just fall away because you're unique. Focus on yourself. Focus on networking. Focus on you. Don't focus on them. They're going to do their own thing. Companies change all the time. Just focus on you. Positive. We got 4 questions.
Yep. Anyone else?
Yeah.
So, obviously Purina is the best of the best in the nutrition world. I mean, as you think about PCIP specifically for nutrition-based businesses, this is more of a PCIP, I don't know, you guys can give some feedback too, but I just love to think about how you guys think about nutrition-based businesses in relation to the prize, given you guys are already so far ahead in nutrition.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I will also open it up to Brian if he wants to. If you haven't met Brian, by the way, in the red shirt there, Brian is kind of the driving force behind PCIP at Purina and has been for a number of years. So definitely feel free to fill in. What I would say is we have typically somewhere around 150 or so applications that come in for each cycle or each year that we have this. And there's a pretty rigorous down select process that goes on, and some of it involves just external people who are in the startup community that Active Capital brings in and start trying to filter through some things. And then we also have close to 100 people at Purina that have raised their hand and said, oh, we'd love to be able to take part in kind of evaluating these different groups. And so, you kind of work your way down. And I mean, as you see tonight, it comes from all different angles of pet care that we're looking at. And so I would say more often than not, the winners that we wind up having are outside of our traditional, food, treats, and litter. But that's not a criteria. We don't have any hard cap or anything like that. That's not intentional. It's just kind of the way that the numbers have shaken out. So we certainly keep an open mind, to folks that are kind of in our more traditional sphere, as well as other folks that operate in different sectors of pet care. So, Brian, anything that you'd add to that?
Built on that, though, but if you look at past prize winners, I mean, even as recent as 2 years ago, I mean, we had Arch Pet, right, which is a dry kip, right? It's exactly what Purina does. They've got a unique story, a unique ingredient base, and a very unique positioning, right? And so we've had dry food, wet food, snacks that have been prize winners, and we recognize they're doing something different and they're doing something innovative in the space, and they compete well in the prize.
Yeah, Yak 9, a treats manufacturer, was a winner this past year. Yep.
They're doing something different. And yeah, I think to your question about, how does Purina view nutrition? I mean, we are a science-first company, and we're not going to put nutrition out there that hasn't been validated. The ingredients, don't perform. We don't do anything that isn't safe. But I think as you take a step back and I take my Purina hat off, co-manufacturers have gotten very, very sophisticated in the space over the years, and they've got nutritionists on staff, they've got QA people on staff, and they're doing, great things with their product too. So, certainly we like to see those companies who are doing something a little differently from a positioning standpoint, but we do prefer to see those who are doing it the right way and doing it in accordance with AFCO regulations, doing it in a safe way, doing it in a traceable way, doing it in a science-based way. Not that your positioning has to be science-based, but that there's real good quality ingredients and nutrition.
And I would just kind of tag on to what these guys were saying. The applicants that tend to rise to the top are the ones that can, I think, succinctly communicate their point of differentiation. And that may be in food, or it may be in services, or anywhere in between there. So I think that was great advice, guys. Yes.
This question for you and Brian, actually, more about the criteria for the prize. Is there a certain size, stage of company that you look for, or is it open? What is your criteria?
Not necessarily, and that's another one that, if we look back historically, people have been at all different phases. Now, what I would say is, I don't know what the largest company that we've ever gone. We if you're $50 million and well on your way to being very established, then, probably this wasn't the right competition. That's not necessarily, it's a little more emerging is what we're looking at. But, I mean, we don't necessarily, and Jay, Dustin, feel free to kind of chime in too, because you guys are part of that selection process. That's not going to exclude you, it'd be great, to understand, because one of the parts of the application is, are there any commercial business results or anything like that? But if you're not at that stage yet, it doesn't exclude you from being judged. Now, you've heard also from some of these guys that, hey, they've maybe applied multiple years because, maybe it was a little bit too early stage. But I wouldn't make that a deterrent to applying, because sometimes you get good feedback in terms of areas that you may want to sharpen up or think about to reapply in the following year. So guys, I don't think any
I can only remember one company that was sort of disqualified towards the end because we felt they were too big and they were seeking Series A of $85 million valuation.
That's not our prize. Yeah, I'd say, just to build on Pat, the Innovation Prize is designed to be early stage startups. There is no requirement that says you have to be in market earning revenue. We've had plenty of pre-market companies that have done it. I would say the sweet spot tends to be those companies who are really close if they are pre-market, call it the next 6 months, maybe 12 months before market, and then, call it a couple years in market with, maybe several $100,000, maybe a few $1 million in sales. That tends to be kind of where the middle of the bell curve is. A couple of years ago, we had a company that's probably 4, 5, 6 years away from being in market. They're very much in an R&D, kind of technical feasibility stage. And we've had some that, have been around a little bit longer, maybe, mid millions, high single digits. But kind of that sweet spot is, a few months before to, a couple years post.
Good question.
Yeah. What advice do you have about selecting the right investor and not working with the wrong people, I guess?
I'll start. I've had to raise a lot of money for a lot of different things, and trust your gut no matter what. I mean, it's spend enough time with them. I think our first initial investor with Bestie B&B, after we knew that she loved the idea, that she wanted to be involved, it was still about a 6-month process of having multiple lunches and getting together and talking and making sure that we were all aligned from a mission standpoint. Along our journey, like we've turned down some VC money that didn't want to focus as much on the mission of why we created this. And so people, it's not always hidden. You just have to have the conversation, to make sure that your goal, what your expectations, your mission, your milestones, just have the conversations with them. And don't be afraid, you're interviewing any investor as much as they're interviewing you. Go in with enough confidence where you don't have to, sure, you're polite and you want to get a check, but they're going to respect the fact that you're asking as many questions of them as they are of you. And you just don't know where you're going to find capital. You show up to events like this, and all it takes is one person to make one introduction. There's no room too small to show up to. I learned that early on. Some of the best connections I've gotten is showing up where only 10 people showed up at the event, but one of those people in that room could change the entire course of your life. I think this is funny. We went to a holiday cookie making party that we were invited to. And this was after a pitch competition in Kansas City where we presented our idea for the first time on stage. We bootstrapped the company for a year before we got our first investment. And one of our advisors at the time was extremely well connected. He's like, hey, we're having this holiday party. So we went over to his house and brought our kids and our wives, and we're making cookies. And it just so happened that, this tremendously successful female entrepreneur that lived across the street was very passionate about rescue and domestic violence. And she was our first investor, and she wanted to be the only one for creating our MVP. So sometimes, show up and share your story, and by the time you share it with them, make sure you know exactly what it is that you want to build or create, and you just don't know where that's going to come from.
Yeah, and your valuation, the equity you're giving them, whether it's a convertible note or a safe note, and kind of what, if you're in a series, if you're in pre-seed, seed, I think there's a lot of variables, and just piggybacking off of everything he said.
Yeah. I learned a term as we started raising money that stuck around. It was called working capital. So ideally, if you have the opportunity to be selective, you want to be selective and choose folks that will be able to provide more for you than just writing a check. And again, that goes to some of what I was saying earlier about knowing what needs you have and what they can fill out. I will tell you that our lead investor, was also our biggest cheerleader. This guy was is incredibly connected throughout the entire industry. He owned and operated one of the largest co-manufacturing food plants in North America for many, many years, and then sold that and exited and started a fund. So he, one, had a fund and was writing checks. Two, knew a ton about pet food manufacturing, which I knew a lot about pet food sales and marketing. I didn't know anything about manufacturing at the time. We needed to shore that up. And you know what? His energy just kind of fit with us. He was our biggest cheerleader. I remember the way I met Purina was that I had created sort of a what is already pitch video, and I sent it to him. Actually, I showed it to him for the first time on the floor at Super Zoo on my phone. And he was like a kid that had just discovered Christmas. He was like, I can't, you got to send this to me immediately. And he was running around the entire show floor showing people on our behalf and saying, you've got to see this. You've got to see
He
this.
showed me. And now I'm remembering this.
Yeah, he did. He was running around showing people. And one of the people he showed was either Jay or Dave or Brian, right? And on the show floor. And that was in the middle of the afternoon. By the end of that afternoon, I had some random guy named Dave Comiskey texting me that I had no idea about this guy, but he had gotten my number from someone and was texting me, can you please come to this dinner tonight? Purina is hosting this dinner. Will you please just show up and let's just have a conversation? And so my point being that that's how things got started with Purina, but it was also because we did find that investor that was just a great fit for us in a lot of ways. Not necessarily the easiest thing to find that right path, but that's what you're looking for as best you can find it.
Answer your question.
Yeah, Brian.
Last question.
Oh, last question. Anybody?
Go for it.
Yes, sir. In your experience, what are unique distribution channels in the pet industry, pet space? Whether it's marketing.
What's your product?
What's the unique? Our guess is a digital product, but are there any unique distribution channels like marketing, sales, fulfillment?
Media, like we mean. Yeah. So I work with a lot of creators. So our creators can hit over 1 billion impressions every week. So I am biased, but I lean pretty heavily on that side. I think there's a lot of fun plays on the media side where you can do, but I would say partnering with a creator or creators that have authentic engagement and that have built up that engagement organically. A lot of them have fake followers and they overcharge for things. So being sure that you have the right pick. One really good one is with Bunny, the talking dog, you know, the pushing buttons. And then she signed a contract with that company and she has part ownership of it now. So it encourages her to continue to post to her 10+ million followers. And that brand has grown single-handedly because of this influencer. So for me, being biased and working in media with creators, just take that with a grain of salt what I'm saying, but like find someone who authentically matches your product, and I would work with those creators. That would be my advice. And there's other fun media spaces that you can go into.
Yeah, because I'm going to answer your specific questions because you have a digital product, right? So, but this can be applied, I think, to multiple pieces. Is because you have a digital product, you can be even more creative than people who are making food or what have you with the way you want to bring that to market. So I would just say be open to not only, and this may not be what you want to do, but there's opportunities for you to bring a branded digital product to market, or there's a way to have it incorporated into a giant's consumer products company who might have a lot more users than you could ever get potentially for a long period of time. There might be ways that you can look at sort of B2B as a digital product in addition to B2C or what have you. So I would just say, especially in a digital world, keep your mind open because the path you're looking to go down might be the right one, but there might be others you could consider. And I'm not sure if that fits for you. Whether that is partnering with a retailer, partnering with a manufacturer that's larger than you, partnering with folks that already have a large established presence in the industry, but may be interested in the technology that you're bringing that don't want to create that skill set for their own and might be interested in sort of that partnership.
All right. Well, I will.
One more question.
Oh.
If I wanted to apply for the prize, where would I find the application? And when do I have to put in my?
I'm going to turn that one over to my expert, Brian.
So spread throughout on these tables are these little business cards. If you don't want to remember the website, they're on this card, but it's petcareinnovation.net. The application window is currently open. It will close on September 21st. Right. So you can get your applications in then. At that point, then the whole down select process that they talked about earlier will kick into gear. We typically make the public announcement of who the 5 winners are in the first full week of January next year. So we kind of go through the down select process through the fall. So petcareinnovation.net.
Application process is split into 2 parts. The first part is not that cumbersome.
Yeah.
Probably going to be able to complete it in half an hour tops. If you make the cut for one of the short list, then we'll come back and ask for a little more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But until then, it's relatively lightweight. So.
And we asked for a couple of videos. Like, you don't have to go out and hire a professional videographer. Don't do that. Like, most of the people are pulling out their iPhone, they're putting it down in front of their computer, putting the reverse camera on, hitting the record button, recording 2 minutes, and uploading it. Perfectly fine. Don't spend your hard-earned money that can go to customer acquisition or product development on a professional video, because it won't make a difference.
Also, femalefounders.pet. It's kind of a subsidiary of the Purina PCIN. It is completely free to join, so femalefounders.pet. And you just kind of get access to a lot of women in the network and around the network. Sorry, guys, you're not invited. I'm just kidding. We have a lot of guys that come. It's just we're trying to support women in that group. But yeah, that's another fun way to get into it.
All right. Well, I will close it like I opened it. I just want to say thank you for being with us tonight. Hopefully you found this insightful, and just quick round of applause for our